breaches occurred, how do I matter? And then you will find that they are not similar, might not be having such a very strong security posture. How do you address this issue? So we thought that, is it possible for us to come up with a reference framework that would help organizations to actually go through that and then decide, what is it that I have to do in my organization? What are the different steps that are there? And then, implement those in that organization. And the level of implementation could be based on their own risk appetite later on. If they're not similarly placed, they're similarly placed, but if they don't do a similar implementation, that could be based on a conscious decision that these are my budgetary limits and this is my risk appetite, and based on that I take an implementation decision. But still, you have a template against which you can function. So with that in view, we worked with the National Critical Information Infrastructure, and we were mostly concerned with the critical information infrastructure. We worked with the National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, and in the month of October, we released what is called the NCRF, National Cyber Security Reference Framework. Okay, that document it's a one document, but consisting of 4 different volumes in that. It's been initially released to identified enterprises and organizations, and recently we have also told NCIPC to release it to all the state governments and also put it on the portal, and so that it's accessible to the public at large, so that people could access the document, use it for implementation in their own organizations. We'll encourage you to all of you to have a look at it, and also, once you do, because the version 1 of the document, based on a team of people who have sat together and prepared it, and whatever you do, considering the vastness of the country and the different perspectives you have and the different experiences you have in the country, of all of you also running your own setups, you would have your own points of view of what can be done to make the document better, what more can come into it, what need not necessarily be there in that. So we would expect that you can give your feedback, implement it, find implementation issues which are there, and any there's further inputs that are required to be getting into those documents. Encourage you to do that. Now, the document, I'll just briefly touch in a minute or two about what are the parts of that. One is the main document. It talks about, it sets the context for that. It talks of an architecture, the capability sets that people should have, the operational part and the engineering part of the security in an organization. So that's the main document. Then we have a compendium of the guidelines, frameworks, and standards. There are different standards that we have in the world, like some of the guidelines are from MATI, CERTIN, NCIPC, MHA, NISPG 5.0 of MHA, RBI, SEBI guidelines are there. The Central Electricity Authority for the power sector are there. Then we have got the IT standards and the NIST standards which are there, and the maturity model standards which are available, like the C2M2 and ISO 62443, then METRI framework, and for the information exchange, the sticks and the taxi formats which are there, and the TLP, So this document covers all of these. So in one particular document, you have access to all of these. It doesn't go into, it gives you a brief outline of that. You can then go to the main document if you're interested in reading more about it. Then we also have a compendium of the practices and processes for the GRC function, the asset management function, then the IAM function, which is their threat and vulnerability management, network security, endpoint security, app data security, and SOC, and all of this, the processes for that. So there's a compendium for all of that. There's one other document that is there. And the final document is a catalog of technologies and products and solutions. It is not that we are watching for any particular brand or product and something, but that it gives you a sampling, what is generally available. It tells you that for this particular functionality, vulnerability management, for example, or IAM, what are the products which are available? Or you want to establish a process, what are the products which are available? So this is a compendium of products which are both domestic, indigenous products, and also international brands which are there, and this is the document. So this is a complete set of documents, a few hundred pages of the document which is there, which shortly you will be able to access, all of you, and I will advise you to have a look at those documents and do that. That's one we did. The other work that's happened is we have created something called an Adaptive Cyber Defense System, ACDS platform, which was created, which we have done trial deployments in some of the SLDCs, that is the state load dispatch centers for the power sector, and in the power grid we have done some proof of concept trial deployments there to improve the platform. And we also done one deployment in Bharat Electronics Limited. So there, the testing of that platform is going on. So which we want to then, it's basically opens an agglomeration of open source solutions which are there, combined into a platform. So combining all the functionalities of a threat exchange, SOC, all of these functionalities which are there. So we same functionality. So all of that, together as an ACDS platform, one common platform which puts together all of that. So this is another activity. So then, hopefully, if this really functions, pans out properly, then we could be offered to people for them to implement in their own organizations. Then, coming to the national level, to get visibility into the type of malicious activity that happens. We have also done a project for honeypots, intelligent honeypots, and those have been developed, and then large-scale deployments, and then we have transitioned it to CERT-in for deployments in the country to pick up the telemetry from across the country, and then get a feel about the type of malware that is getting deposited, the sectors that are getting affected, so that proactively then we can reach out to those sectors and tell them that you take the precautionary measures that are required to be done. So this is another framework that's been created for countrywide deployment and in different sectors, so that we know the malicious activity that's happening in each of the sectors, and then proactively intimate those organizations to do that. So it's a lot of the advisories that you get are based on the telemetry that we are able to receive from that. Okay, in this case, you would also heard of institutional mechanism called the NCCC. I don't know how many of you have heard of it. There's a National Cybersecurity Coordination Center. It's with the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, run currently by CERT-in. So that actually is using all this telemetry data, and you have what you call a visual dashboard of the country as such, about the type of, and there is also a TSOC, the Telecommunications Security Operations Center, which has been created, so which has probes, across all the networks in the country, picks up metadata to, and also feeds into the NCCC, and it helps you in whatever I've just said, in getting a visibility of malicious activity, and helps. This has really been useful in some of the big events that we have conducted, and where there was a lot of activity, like for example the Ram Mandir inauguration that was there. There was a lot of adverse activity on our systems across in the country when the G20 summit was happening. So these deployments that have helped us in taking proactive measures to see that these events were not affected. So this is something that we're also doing. So this, considering the vastness of the country, it's not possible for one CERT India to look at the complete country and take measures. So there's each of the sectors are encouraged to create their own CSIRTs, companies security incident response teams. Cybersecurity. So we have, for example, the FinCSIRT that's been created, financial sector CSIRT, that's functioning out of Delhi. And then in the power sector also, around, we initially thought of having separately for the generation, for transmission, and for distribution. But then subsequently, we did open them up, but subsequently, around a couple of months back, we have consolidated all of that into one CSIRT for the whole power sector across the country. So that has started functioning. And the chief of that and the staff has also been posted there, so that's also started functioning. So having sectoral CSIRTs is very important, so that that they have a visibility into the type of activity that's happening in their own sectors and also can respond to any events that happen. They have the subject matter expertise in their own sectors, so they can do that. So that is another activity that's happening. Then, again, coming back to we had a session on ransomware, and Mr. Jayesh Ranjan also mentioned about ransomware. Some observations on the ransomware piece. Ransomware is happening, but our own observation in the last 6 months, ransomware events across internationally have reduced to a certain extent, whatever may be the reasons. But what we find is that though ransomware has been in the public knowledge domain for some time, even then, organizations with open eyes are falling into the traps. The necessary measures that are required to be taken are not being taken. See, how does ransomware is one type of malicious activity that happens. It all depends on, first it starts off with an access to your systems. The access is, after that, if it is the type of activity after the access is ransomware, is a different matter altogether. It could be some other activity that happens. But the access part is very important. So one is the phishing, access that happens because of phishing. So, for you to do mock phishing trials in your own organization is one thing that is taken, should be done, so that, people are aware what are genuine, domains and what are phishing links that are coming up, and they should not fall for it. So this is one activity I think every enterprise should take in terms of doing that, that activity of conducting mock phishing drills, so that people, you conduct it, one or two people will fall for it, then they brought counsel what went wrong, and then then people, that awareness of your employees improves. That's one part. And especially when they phish, especially your administrators and all of that who have privileged credentials, those people are targeted. So they should be more aware of how to behave, not fall for those phishing. The other is about backups. Whatever you do, you would fall for a ransomware sometime. Before I come to that, the access part. The other is, a lot of time the access happens because of unpatched known vulnerabilities. It's not that it's a zero-day vulnerability most of the time that gets attacked and you are having an ingress into the system. Most of the times, those are known vulnerabilities that have been there for quite some time in the open, but they have not been patched. So the patching of your operating systems and applications is very important. But then how do you do that patching? Many a time you don't have an inventory of your assets. You do not know what are the applications you have got, what are the different systems that are, what are the different operating systems functioning there. You don't have that. I think it's essential for you to maintain a software bill of materials. There then, you would know that what are in the bill of material, what are the different softwares I have got, what is the version of it that's currently running on my systems, what is the latest version that is available. So then that helps you in actually to see that if all your assets are patched and up to date is important part. Of course, there's one challenge that you have when you talk in terms of software bill of material is that many a time when there's a change, especially in the underlying application or operating system, that if you do patch it or you go to a newer version of it, your own application stops working because it's very intimately mated to the underlying software. So that's where I think then you have some development activity, development work that has to happen. And if that application of yours has been done by a third-party developer, then he will demand his share of money for doing activity. So I think in advance, like I talk of secure by design, your contract should be secure by design, in the sense that you should build all of these features into the contract, that whenever there is a change in the underlying update in the underlying operating system or the application on which your own application rides, it's incumbent on that particular third-party application service provider for him to give you an update to that application so that it is compatible with the updated version of it. So that is something you have to really build into your contracts for that to happen. So one is have a software bill of material, and the other is to look at your own contracts with third-party service providers that do have these provisions in the contract for him to update his application to be compatible to whatever updates have happened. Yeah. The other is the backup part. People, you have to have a backup, and the backup has to be immutable in the sense that the backup also should not get encrypted. It should be write once, read many times, but should not be able to write it again. So the immutability part of the backup is something you will have to check up. And the other part is you should have both an offline backup and an offsite backup, because it's very important. And after that, you should have a drill to see if you are able to restore a system from a backup. That is also important. And a couple of cases I'll tell you. One is they had a backup, but the keys for the backup were stored in the original system, which got encrypted by ransomware. So they could not back up. Okay. The other is the backup is offline, offsite, and it is connected through a MPLS link, and the link capacity is not sufficient for them to be backed up. It takes around 3 or 4 days for them to back up. Okay. So unless these things will not come out to you unless you do a mock drill and do a backup and see that if my backup is really, and how much time does it take for me to back up, is everything getting backed up, are there some systems that are not functioning after the backup? So these are some things that will come out. So when you talk of the ransomware, this is something that we have to talk of. So in this regard, I would like to mention that we have created what is called a national malware repository, and that is one that it's to be launched. I mean, hopefully in the month of March it will be launched. It's ready, and some of our agencies are already using it. Where you can submit, if you have a malware sample, it can be submitted to the malware repository. They would do an analysis and then tell you about it, and they would also tell you of some mitigative measures for that. In that malware repository, we have initially it was not part of the plan that we were having in development of that. But now we have created a module for ransomware also, where typical ransomware which is there, and we have some keys for that, and some mitigative measures are also something that we have made it part of the repository. Hopefully in the month of March we will be launching it. We are waiting for a suitable date for doing that. Okay. Then when you talk of security, one other aspect I would like to talk about is the trustworthiness of you have third-party vendors who are there, and that's a problem. And you talk of cloud service providers, they're also third-party vendors for us. We put everything on all our life on their hands, and then think that they're going to do a good job of it. And we have had cases, and there's not much of transparency about the type of security measures these people take. I'm sorry, there might be somebody from cloud service. Sorry. But because we have had cases where, you take all the measures, you have designed your application so well, you put all the access control measures in all place, you put it on the cloud, everything is taken care of, and then suddenly you find at the hypervisor level there is an ingress, and the whole, there's a ransomware attack, and in addition to everybody else's, you also got encrypted and you're out. Are you at fault? I mean, you have taken whatever I've talked about now, you have taken care of all of that. But then your third-party cloud service provider, what are the security measures he's taken about? There, I find currently the system is that, what is the type of visibility about the type of processes they have in place? Because, many a time, they might be giving access to that hypervisor layer because they say the customer's requirement to make, configuration changes for his VMs or the memory and all of that. For that purpose, he might be giving access. But that itself could be a reason that some breaches occurred because of one truant customer who's not really good. And then, all the others who are really very good at what they're doing, they all get affected. And this is one, I think, as cloud service providers, this is one aspect that they have to see, because we have had practical cases where customers who have really done a good job about securing their infrastructure have been affected because the third party's cloud service provider client has not been very diligent about how he is accessing the cloud service. So this is where the protection is required. I think this is one aspect. I think it's a work that is required to be done, and I have a representative controllers. So I think this is one aspect that I think we should be looking at. And you can tell me when I'm supposed to shut up, and I'll shut up, okay? Okay. Then I will also bring to your notice regarding this, we have a national security directive on the telecom sector. I've talked about it some places, some of you might be aware of it, but a lot of you might not be aware of it. How many of you are aware of this national security directive on the telecom sector, or the trusted telecom portal? Anybody aware of it? Yeah, you got one person. So then I can talk about it. So in December 2020, the government came up with this national security directive on telecom sector, and the rationale for that was that we are migrating towards 5G. There's going to be large-scale deployment of IoT devices, and across horizontally, it's going to be across all sectors. Unlike telecom was to be one vertical like any other vertical, now this is going to be horizontal that is going to, affect all the sectors, and it's having national security consequences. So they said, and then at that time also we had a limited set of vendors, a couple from Europe and a couple from maybe US and others from our friendly neighbor. Okay. So it was decided that we should be very particular about the trustworthiness of the products that go into the telecom networks, because the underlying telecom infrastructure is on which everything else rides, protecting that. So the directive told that the service providers who are licensed should only put trusted products from trusted sources into the network. And what is a trusted source and what is a trusted product will be determined by the government through a process. Okay. June of 2021 was the implementation date. 6 months time was given, and we launched the Trusted Telecom Portal on June 15th of 2021, and it's been now more than 3 years, 4 years now. Yeah, it's going to be 4 years. It's going to be 4 years. We've been having this, so we have more than 300 companies which are now on the portal trusted, and more than 5,000 products which are trusted. What is trusted is determined based on, the ownership of the company, the board of directors, where the company is headquarters, where does the R&D happen, where does the production happen, where does the assembly, integration, testing happen. So looking at all of these parameters, a company is determined as trusted. And the product, because a company being trusted does not mean its product is trusted. So the product also is seen that where does the product manufacturing happen, where do the components come from. So all of those also looked at, and the product is also treated as trusted. So that scheme it's thankful for the industry, because we have worked together with the industry to see how to make this work, and with the processes and procedures for putting in place, industry has been very cooperative in this regard, and that has happened in the telecom sector. But then there are others who thought that it's a value add for them, because one of the reasons why we talked of trusted, the trusted does not talk about whether it complies to standards. So a trusted product need not be secure. Because, you could have a very trustworthy friend who is an idiot. Correct? So the thing is that trusted, so the other part is the compliance to standards, and the quality of workmanship is a different part altogether. So when you talk of a secure product, there are two components to it. One is the trust factor, about from where are you getting the product, and the other is whether it's complying to standards, whether the processes, procedures within the company are such that it gives you a consistency in the product, and also whether the security is inbuilt to it. So this trust factor helps, because if you have an untrusted partner, he might have a good product, which functionally if you test it gives you very good quality, but then he could put in something which any amount of testing will not be bringing out, any security feature, that's a problem. So this is why you have to look at both the aspects. You should be having a trustworthy partner, and for companies also I'm telling that it's important to have a trustworthy partner who is not having malicious intent. And then also look at the type of processes he has inbuilt into his company to see whether he's complying with the standards. The second part of it in the telecom sector is being taken care of by the Department of Telecom, where they have an institute called the NCCS, and which does the National Center for Communication Security in Bangalore based, and there's a telecom engineering center. The functional requirements are looked after by the telecom engineering center, and the security requirements are looked after by the NCCS. They come up with the security requirements, and then they have a lab recognition scheme and the testing and certification framework for that. So they look at the standards part of it. Looking at how this thing panned out, the Indian Railways have also got themselves onboarded. They were very keen that whatever signaling systems and communication systems that they install. So it's been nearly a year since that they have onboarded themselves onto the portal, and whatever procurement they've given instructions across that whatever procurement they do has to happen through that. The power sector also, they started coming with their own vendor system, but now for the IT systems, they're working with us to see that in the power sector across all the utilities, they would like to have and use all over these 5,000 products which are there, and maybe incremental they would like to add into that, and they would use that for deployments in the power sector. Maybe there is a case, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the government, but maybe there is a case that for especially the critical information infrastructure, we bring out, the trusted products and trusted source regime, so that we have trusted partners who actually supply products to us and get deployed in this critical information infrastructure. Okay. So now I'll come to, the emerging technologies that are there. One of them is the quantum part. People have been talking about quantum technologies, and from the security perspective, one is, of course, they say that we have encryption. Encryption is one of the components of security. And enterprise level, you have, especially banking, financial services, they use encryption to a large extent. Telecom sector uses encryption to a large extent. Many individuals also use encryption to a large extent. The fear is that, especially for the asymmetric encryption, public key encryption systems, that the quantum computers would be able to break that. Okay. So then we talk in terms of post-quantum cryptography, and how do I protect? And they also talk of harvest now and decrypt later, so that some of the data could be critical after a few years, especially strategic sector data would be critical even after 10 years. So our adversaries could be harvesting the data so that I could decrypt it later to get access to that. So there is a requirement now to migrate our systems to post-quantum cryptography. And you would have heard of the NIST algorithms which are there, lattice-based and other one-based, so which are there. So in this area, we have already started working. And there are some post-quantum cryptography-based products that have been created, like an inline encryptor and post-quantum video IP phone that have been created. And they have gone through a level of testing. We have an organization called SAG in the DRDO, which does evaluation of cryptography products. So that sort of an evaluation is happening, and we are also building capacity for evaluation of post-quantum cryptography products or quantum-based systems. But the challenge here is we have to come up with a roadmap for this. How do you migrate? And not only that, because many of these algorithms are mature, there will be a requirement for you to replace them. There might be a requirement. And let's say, for example, today we take a decision based on the current technology that we have, that I'm going to migrate. And then after 2 years we find, no, this is that a breach has occurred in this, because now they found out this is not really secure. Then you just imagine the cost involved if I have to replace all this cryptographic system across the country. So the concept of crypto agility is what that we are talking about, in the sense that this cryptographic system you put in should be able to be porting newer cryptographic systems into that, so that when I come with a new system, I don't change the underlying hardware and all of that. I just put a new cryptographic algorithm onto that, and I get the new PQC onto that. So that is one. So this is one area that work is required to be done. We have created what is called a quantum threat panel, a group of people who are working on that, and in the Department of Science and Technology also. You must have heard of the National Quantum Mission. We've been in talks with them that in addition to the 4 verticals that they're talking about, quantum communication, computing, sensing, and devices, we should also look at the horizontal layer of security across all of that, and then we should look at the security aspects. And that's why there's a team that's been created there also, and identifying the issues that are there, looking at what are the low-hanging fruits that we should looking at, and look at a migration path for getting into post-quantum era for cryptography. So that is one. And also the QKD systems, quantum key distribution systems. So there are also some research that has happened, and we have developed some quantum key distribution systems and have been deployed also. And testing is happening in that. Some commercial deployments have also happened in the QKD systems that are there. The other aspect is regarding the AI, artificial intelligence. And then today I think the bulk of the theme of though it's security, data, and AI, the AI systems also, we talk of both the dimensions of AI. One is the security of the AI systems that are getting deployed, and the security of using AI for security purposes. Because the volume of data that your security systems generate, you can't do a manual analysis of that. You have to get visibility, to get actionable intelligence into that, you have to have some tools that will help you to use that. Let's say, at the national scale, we have all these probes that I talked about, more than 100, 140, 50 probes that are throwing up, gigabytes of data, terabytes of data, every second. So how do you analyze all of that? So that's where we look at the AI tools being used. But that's already there, okay. But the other aspect of, people come and then say that they have developed an AI system and they would like to deploy it. Currently, we don't have a very good assessment framework to find out how do I verify the claims of the AI system. And the assessment framework also regarding the data sets that are used for training of those AI systems, whether there's fairness, is there a skew, so all of that. So in that regard, we have identified that's a problem statement. And similarly for blockchain-based systems also, we find that we should have a good evaluation mechanism. Yeah, she's there. So we have asked them to work in this domain. They have expertise. They have actually helped us in evaluating normal IT systems and develop auditing of systems. They've also developed very good course material for training people on auditing, and they also do conduct programs on that's been built, a team that's been built there in CDAC Hyderabad. They're now currently working on blockchain-based systems, in addition to, of course, telecommunication systems. So this is a very important area. You must have heard of the recent AI Paris, summit, AI summit that happened, and some of these concerns that we are talking about have been flagged there. Okay, so proactively in this country, we are working in this area, and you also would have heard of the AI mission, where compute infrastructure is being created. So that access to startups, academic institutions, government organizations, and even enterprises, startups, is sought to be given so that people could work on AI solutions in that. So when we talk in terms of all of this, AI compute facility and the algorithmic development, the innovation center, the capacity building and all of that, the security aspect is one thing. That's also horizontal in the AI part that has to be taken. And that's an area of work. So now I'll come to the capacity. And people have heard, what do you think? Ye to yahi bolta rehta hai. Okay. Because you have the right person, he'll take care of what are the people to be recruited. So he'll build up a team for you. He'll take care of implementation. So what is, just having the right person is the most important part of any organization. So in the cybersecurity domain also, it's important to have competent, trained manpower, motivated. And in this regard, there are many private sector enterprises, entities who have taken the initiative to do training. They are having commercial interests, I understand. But it's good that's happening. But it's not happening at the scale that when NIIT and AppTech had come about, when IT was coming into the country around 30 years back. It's not like that. In that scale, it's not happened. And whatever training is happening, is it something that the industry is ready to absorb? Is there some sort of a method in whatever, I will not call it madness, in the effort that's happening with different training organizations? So in this regard, and since we are very much focused on national security from our organization, we worked with NCIPC to look at how do I have the appropriate manpower in the critical information infrastructure sector. So this is a work that's been happening with some time, and they've come up with the framework, they're ready, and then we recently had a meeting, and they're going to launch it in this month of March through around 10 workshops across the country. It's a certification framework where we have certification of individuals, certification of training organizations, and certification of consultancy organizations. And then when you have talk of certification individuals, it means that you have to identify, there are 3 levels that they've identified, foundational, middle and advanced. And there are different categories also, because there are different, like for example, something is required for incident management, somebody is required for forensics. So there are different categories which are there. So I think 13 or 14 different categories, different levels have been identified. Course matter and all of that's been done, and it will be shortly launched. And that is one part, that's an initiative that's happening. And hopefully, and once we have training organizations coming forward, getting recognized to conduct these courses, hopefully across the country you'll have multiple training organizations that will come forward, these courses get conducted and people get certified. And that's an acceptability in the industry. Now the thought process, whether you make it mandatory, voluntary, but I think better start off with, let it start off, then look at it, what should be done later on. But this certification framework should help in getting trained manpower into our systems. That's one part. I'll also bring to you notice that we conduct what is called a National Cybersecurity Exercise, NCX. We call the Bharat National Cybersecurity Exercise. We've had 3 instances of that, and we're going to shortly have in the middle of the year another one. Around, it's a multi-sectoral from, across sectors, power sector, banking, financial sector, strategic sector, telecom, all of these, they come in, and around 200 people. It's a 2-week exercise where they sit together and then they go through there's initial training that's there. Pre-course material is given, initial training is done, and then actually exercise happens where the red teaming, blue teaming, white teaming, yellow teaming happens. So that is one that's been done. But that is, for a country of size, that's not sufficient. So now we have come up with what is called sector-specific training. The first sector-specific training is going to start from 24th of February. We have tasked RRU, Rashtriya Raksha University in Gujarat, for doing that. And we have created a national cyber range. And that's another project we have given to them, to create a national cyber range, so that one is for the IT part of it, and the other is we are also building OT elements into it. Initially the power sector OT elements into that. Later on we'll also bring the second phase, we are doing the banking and financial sector related OT elements into it. Later, hopefully in the future, telecom and others also. So this is one, the sector specific training, where we want to train people and then also curate the course specifically to the requirements of that particular sector. I think this course also will evolve as we experience, because the first training program is going to start on the 24th. Based on the experience and the feedback we get, then we will actually further work on that course to improve that course and then develop it. And it will be a regular exercise that we'll do to have, trained manpower for each of this critical information infrastructure. And this training that I talked of, NCIPC 1, the certification 1, is one that's been worked by NCIPC along with the Quality Council of India, QCI, okay. Then I think how much time more, then accordingly I will pitch. I'll take up some first topics. Okay. Okay. So then I'll bring to your notice that when you talk of cybersecurity and somebody asks, like for example, if somebody asks you that if I have to have a driving license or something to the road, you will say that there's a Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, okay? If you talk of something like hospitals or diagnostic centers, there's a Ministry of Health. When you talk of cybersecurity, that was not clearly defined, that there's something called the allocation of business rules, which actually allocates, under the allocation of business rules, these functions are allocated to different departments and ministries. Cybersecurity per se did not figure in the department and the allocation of business rules. So recently, in the month, I think, October, November-ish or something like that, we had the amendment to the allocation of business rules, so that had happened. Are you aware of that? Some of you are aware, okay. So with this, now, there's a clarity about, with respect to cybersecurity, who's to do what, okay, at the center level. So in the allocation of business rules, what they have defined is, it's a very small, half-page paragraph. The first item in that is that all matters pertaining to security of telecommunication networks and services thereof pertain to Department of Telecommunication, to be handled by the Department of Telecommunication. Then all matters pertaining to cybercrime are to be handled by the Ministry of Home Affairs. All matters pertaining to security as enumerated in the IT Act and for security functions of the government, they are under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. And all matters pertaining to, the coordination and the strategy, policy related matters are with the National Center for, NSCS, National Security Council Secretariat. So that is that definition that has come about. So now for us, I am from NSCS, is for us to coordinate, among everybody to see that cybersecurity policies, strategies, and the activities are coordinated. So this is the clarity has come about, and it is helping us to really perform our functions properly. Okay. Then I'll come to the data protection part of it. We have heard of the DPDB Act, Data Protection Act, okay? You have heard of the draft DPDB rules, data protection rules? You heard? Okay, good. They are at the draft stage now. So you have an opportunity to give kindly go through those draft rules and give your comments and recommendations or whatever it is, so that what are your concerns which are there, so that they can be considered and as appropriate incorporated in those rules. The last date was 18th, and today is 18th, today is 19th, okay. So, but it has been extended. So you have, I don't know how much, another 2 weeks it's been extended? How many weeks it's extended? I think another couple of weeks it's been extended. So what I advise for you to do is to, go through those draft rules and then look at it and then see applicability to your own enterprises. And first thing is, because the DPDP Act has come and the rules are going to kick in, there are certain measures your organization is supposed to take so that you protect yourself from liabilities and legal liabilities, because there are certain actions you are supposed to take to protect the data, personal data. And if you don't take those measures, don't exercise due diligence, then you will be liable for penal action. And that's why it's important for you to look at your current, do an inventory of the data that you hold and see the measures that you've already taken, what are the measures that are required under the Act and the rules, and then see that those measures are taken. So this is a point of action for all of you to go back and work on it. And as you go do this, it will help you to find out if there's some deficiencies in the rules which according to you should require to be fulfilled. You will be able to give those feedback. So the idea is for you to go and do that. Okay. Now I'll come to the citizens. You're all aware of the 1930 portal, okay? So you report on the 1930 portal. What are the places where, people are getting defrauded? One is somebody unknowingly gets defrauded. Somebody knowingly gets defrauded. Knowingly in the sense that they fall, like for example, the investment scams that are happening. They tell you to make an investment, and then you make those investments, and after a month or 2 months you realize that you have been scammed. That is one part. There, is there something that can be done to recover the money? No, because the money has already gone through the systems and it must have already been cashed out. So if you look at the cybercrime part of it, it is not that we will be able to handle all cybercrimes, as I said, paint with the same brush. Everything requires to be handled differently. There are some measures that have recently happened. One is, you get scammed because you got a telephone call and says that he's speaking from a bank, and he says that your KYC has to be updated. And you do not know, because the bank is also using a normal telephone number that all of us use, similar type of telephone number. You do not know if it's really from the bank or from scammer. To address this problem, what the government has done is they've come up with the number 160. And the idea is that all the bank's numbers should start with 160. So if the number is starting with 160, it means it's a bank, otherwise it's not a bank. Okay. Now that is the announcement is already made, I think, working on onboarding all the banks, so that number comes. So that really helps you to identify a call and then say that, okay, this is from a bank. The other is regarding URLs. The other, of course, is regarding URLs. If you remember the new Reserve Bank Governor's speech that has happened recently, he has made an announcement that banks would be told that their URLs should end with .bank.in. .in is a country code for India, sovereign. We have a sovereign right over that. So .bank.in. So all banks like SBI.bank.in. I mean, I'm giving an example. But all banks would end with .bank.in. IDRBT is the registrar for that. So they would actually, so if a bank has to take, it's mandatory they have to take it. So when they take it, they will approach IDRBT, and IDRBT would allocate a .bank.in domain to them. And so then when you get a mail from somebody, it has to be a .bank.in for it to be a bank, and .fin.in for it to be a financial institution. So that way at least you are trying to, alert the customer that other than .bank.in or .fin.in or other than the 160, all the others you should look at with suspicion, not respond to them. If it is pertaining to, things that have to do, anything to do with banking transactions or any of those financial transactions that are there. The other initiative is regarding what the TRA has told all the service providers, telecom service providers, regarding SMSs, because these bulk SMSs come. And then you have headers, which keep, even the banks also, they have so many different headers. One bank will have so many different headers, you get confused with those headers, which is genuine header, which is not a genuine header. So there is one work that's happening on the headers. So the telemarketers, who are doing the bulk SMSs have to be registered. It's become a responsibility that unless he's registered, his SMSs will not be transmitted. That is one part. So if unregistered bulk SMSs get transmitted, then there's a liability on the service provider now. The second part is the message that is sent, that also has to be vetted. Because if there is a link in that, the link has to be vetted. Because, normally they'll send a link and say that, for updating your, or looking at your current balance, you click on this link, they will say. Many times it's a genuine link, but a lot of times it is not. So the content of the SMS also, that link also has to be vetted before it is sent. So these are two things that a service provider has to do. So that is, in one way trying to, prevent these scamming calls to come to you and you not falling for it. The other aspect was international numbers coming with +91. +91 is India country code. A number coming from across the border should not have a +91 country code. But there were people who were manipulating that, putting +91 and sending it, and that's what happened. So now they have done is that at the international borders, the gateways that we have got, in any call is coming from outside the country and that the initial header is +91, these calls are getting dropped. And the crores of calls that are getting dropped now. What has happened, these call centers that are operating out of countries like Cambodia and Laos and all of that, which are doing these scamming calls, they were making these calls and putting +91, so that was the problem. So now that those calls are getting dropped, so now you will find that most of these scamming calls are coming with +97 or +86 or all of those numbers, because those +91 scamming calls are getting dropped when they're coming across the international borders. But at least now you know that it's a +97, it's not an Indian call. But sometimes when you're busy, +97 looks like +91. So there's another initiative that TRA has told that if it's an international call, pop-up should come alerting you that this is an international call that's coming. So that is something that shortly will happen. So I think you'll get a message whenever a call from across the border is coming. A message will pop up, it's saying it's an international call. Tika. That's what I wanted, message. Okay. Then, I've been told to close, but I'll just wind up with something. We receive a lot of these calls. And every day, I don't know how many of you, but I keep receiving 4 or 5 calls every day you will get, scamming calls. But, maybe I don't fall for it. Maybe one day I'll fall for it. It's a different matter, but up till now I've not fallen for it. But I should have a facility for reporting that so that preemptive action to be taken, because that number can be brought down. Okay? Or an SMS has come, that number print brought down. A URL has come, that number will be shut down. So this is required. So I hope you're aware of that, what's called a Chakshu portal. where you can go and report. But Chakshu portal itself is a pain. Who will go and report on the portal? So they've created a Chakshu app now. So you can download the app. What the app does is, when you get a call and you realize it's a scam call that you've been received, open the Chakshu app, and then it takes you to your inbox, and then it picks up that phone. You can select that phone number that has come. So it picks up the phone number and all the details, like when the call has come and all of that details. You don't have to do anything else, and then submit, that's all. So it helps you to report. So when the reporting happens, then you can put a threshold and then start shutting down these numbers or taking proactive action to see that these numbers are no longer valid. So this is something that is there. But there are some ideas that come, some other points, and I would like for you to put your thought into that. When somebody comes to deliver a package to you, he says that OTP, sir, aapko paas OTP aayega, thoda bata dijiye. Now, you feel frightened that OTP, banking wala OTP hai, khud iska OTP hai. The thought process comes, is it possible to differentiate between two OTPs? One that comes because of a banking transaction, and one that comes because of other e-commerce transactions, other transactions. That is one thought, okay? The other is, you have this financial transactions happening. Of course, forget about those investment scams which happen, where you report it after 1 month or 2 months. But many a time you realize that you have been scammed immediately after that thing has happened, or you get alert. So is it possible, like, for example, for credit and debit cards, you put the point of sale, allowed, not allowed, international transaction, allowed, not allowed. If allowed, how much limit? All of those are possible. Is it possible that for transactions, I can also set a limit and a latency, saying that, for a transaction above this amount, it should mature after half an hour or 1 hour or something. And then, but the message regarding the transaction should come immediately. Like it's a transaction of 50,000 is there, I get a message immediately, but the transaction matures after 1 hour. What happens is, gives me a window for me to complain, and then, stop the transaction from happening. Okay, we brought this to the banks and all that. This is some thought that comes to, I've also discussed with, yesterday I was there in IDRBT, so I just threw some of these ideas to them. You know what is IDRBT, isn't it? It's in Hyderabad only, Medipatnam. No? It's a banking institution under the RBI that actually, they conduct training programs, do research and all of that for banks. It's also the ISAC for banks. Information Sharing and Analysis Center of the banks. Okay, so where they share threat and intelligence among each of them. If somebody gets affected, he shares on that platform, they share. So IDRBT is a focal point for all of that. So yesterday I met the director there. So some of these we were discussing, and some thoughts like this I threw it across to them. And maybe we'll work on some of these to see that how do we mitigate these also. Okay, so if you have any ideas and all of that, you're all intelligent people, and then we also come across situations that others might not have come across, and you feel how that can be done, you feel free to reach out to me. I'm open to ideas. And then, and because we work in the area of coordination, we have visibility into all the organizations in the country and across all state governments also. So we can work, and we know which organization does what work. So we can actually pick up that organization, call them up, talk to them and say that, this is something that's to be done. So that will help. Like I said, the .bank.in is something that flew out of our organization, and then it's now happening. So please feel free to reach out to us, and then we'll work together. And as a nation, let's make ourselves secure and safe in the cyberspace. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the highly informative session, sir. I would like to call upon Mr. Rambabu to hand over the memento to Mr. Narendra. Okay. We would now be handing over the mementos to our dear partners who have provided us with immense support. I would like to call upon Mr. Ranjit Methrani from Controllers and Cloud4C to kindly come up on stage. We request Mr. Narendra, sir, to hand over the memento to Mr. Ranjit. I would like to call upon Mr. Subhash from our post. Next, we have our supporting partners, ISACA, and for that, we would like to have Chandrasekhar sir to receive the award from Mr. Narendra sir. Another supporting partner we have from Cyber Security Center of Excellence, Mithali Agarwal. Can we please have you on stage? And finally, last but not the least, a knowledge partner from Math, Ms. Rupa. Thank you all. I would now like to call upon Mr. Macha Dinesh Babu for the word of thanks.
Yeah, good afternoon to all the delegates. On behalf of ASSOCHAM, I'm truly honored to stand before you today as we inaugurate this important conference of security, data protection, and artificial intelligence. As we embark on this significant journey of learning, sharing, and innovation, I would like to take a moment and express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to few individuals and organizations who supported us for this important initiative. Firstly, I take the opportunity to thank Dr. Jayesh Ranjan Garu, the Special Chief Secretary, Industries and Commerce Department, Information, Electronics and Communication, Government of Telangana, for taking his time and coming for the inaugural session on his busy schedule. Actually, it was a scheduled meeting with him in the morning with the CMO, but he came for the meeting and delivered his inaugural address and attended for the meeting accordingly. So Dr. Ranjan leadership and vision has played a crucial role in shaping the ecosystem that supports the growth of technology and innovation in our state. A special thank goes to Mr. G. Narendranath, ITS Joint Secretary, National Security Council Secretariat, Government of India, for his special address during the session. His insights into the national security and cyber security are invaluable in guiding us towards a safer and more secure digital future for the country and for the nation. We are also privileged to have Mr. Chandrasekhar Sharma Garu, the director from Controllers and Cloud4, and also the president of ICASA Hyderabad chapter with us today. I sincerely thank Mr. Garimala Garu for his address and also sharing his experience in the area of compliances, security, and cloud infrastructure. And also my special thanks to him for supporting us for this from the ICASA. So the participation and also in the technical thing, ICASA supported this program in a big way. Thank you, sir. I would like to extend a special thanks to all the experts from the industry and the institutions who will be delivering the sessions toward the program. Your contributions are invaluable, and we are deeply grateful for your participation. Our heartfelt and sincere thanks to our title sponsor, the Controllers Data Center and Cloud4C, and also the silver sponsor, Post. Their generous support and commitment to this initiative, your partnership play an important role in helping us achieve the goals of this conference. I would also express my gratitude to Government of Telangana for joining us as partner for this initiative and for their continuous support in promoting innovation and fostering a secure digital environment in the state. A special thanks to ICA's Hyderabad chapter, Cybersecurity Excellence Hyderabad, for supporting the conference as the supporting partners, and unwavering the commitment to the cybersecurity and data protection has made this event more impactful. We also thank MATLAB, the Center of Excellence under the DST, TIAB Hyderabad, for supporting this conference as a knowledge partner. Your collaboration has been crucial in ensuring this academic rigor and technical depth for this event. Finally, I thank all the delegates for their participation from the academia, government agencies present today. Without your participation, the conference would have not been possible. Your enthusiasm, engagement, and dedication to the improving security, data protection, and AI will drive meaningful change. As we move forward today's session, I'm confident that the discussions and the challenges and opportunities we face in these fields. I wish the program a grand success. Let's work together to build a safer, more secure, and innovative future for ourselves and for our next generation. Thank you.
We shall now begin our sessions. Right now, we're going to start with AI revolutionizing tomorrow. I request Mr. Rambabu to come up on stage to moderate the session. Okay.
Just we'll take 2 minutes break.
Okay. Oh,
Just we'll break for 5 minutes and we'll join you.
okay. Everyone is having. Everyone is waiting now. Will we be breaking for lunch?
No, lunch is not there now. They are just having tea only.
Oh,
The lunch will start at 1:30 only.
so at 1:30, I should tell them to have lunch.
Sanjana, after this we have another session. After that only we have the lunch.
Okay.
So just inform the speaker that you take 10 to 12 minutes for the presentation.
Okay.
And respect to the time, so we wanted the speakers to please take 10 to 12 minutes so that we can prepare. But we have another session.
Okay. Okay. You can give me your number. I'll
Give you 10 minutes for each speaker. 10 minutes in person.
will I stop there?
Sorry?
How will I stop?
No. That timer is for you.
Okay. I'll send it to you. Give me your number. I'm not downloaded it. I don't think it's updated, that's the thing. He just cancelled one person now. Settle down, we'll be starting soon. Settle down, we'll be starting soon. Soon. Next, we request Mr. Ranjit Mithrani, President, Controllers Data Centers Technologies Group, Center for Development of Advanced Computing. He will be talking about AI-powered data. Mr. Tanish Mathur, Director, Cash Product Management, Standard Chartered Bank. He'll be covering the topic of AI, the future of everything. We request you all to kindly come up on stage and please take your seats. Considering the time limit and the upcoming sessions, we request our speakers to conduct. Please come and start the session.
Have a conversations around AI, artificial intelligence, revolutionizing tomorrow. As we have touched based in earlier inaugural session about this today's topics, various conversations around security, data protection. India has a huge potential to grow and competitive across the globe in any manner. Companies, innovative global companies are headed by us, and what is it noise? Is it okay? Yeah. So as I was trying, has a very huge potential to be very competitive in the world of IT. As we know, we have been leaders in terms of consulting and development, but product development, because it involves tremendous investments into it, and research and development needs to be very powerful. So in that area, like as we see Western world, they invest heavily into R&D to bring very innovative, powerful and relevant to the respective industry challenges. What are the real world problems we have in various industries? They try to have a evolution and revolution in the technology. So, but in terms of as Indians, we definitely, have a tremendous skill set, tremendous talent pool we have, as we know, across India or also globally. We are located, and definitely we are ruling the world in terms of consulting and development. There's a lot to do. For that, I believe a lot of ecosystem needs to be enhanced. It's all kinds of stakeholders, and government also needs to play a big vital role in terms of promoting such kind of environment, and also enthusiastic technological experts to invest in the R&D, so that, because as we talked earlier, DeepSeek, so it is not a very minimal partial amount of whatever the investment done by Western US-based companies, but the Chinese, they have in terms of which is a economical workforce costing relevant, and they made it very huge successful, and they really crossed their boundaries in a very short span of time. So I believe in that scale, or even in a different scale, India also has a huge And also because such a talent and a very highly talented talent pool we have, only thing is that collaboration and networking among the startups, and also in the context of this particular AI revolutionizing by organizing to bring, because the technology needs to address the localized real world, the real power of that particular technology, and it can be successful. Because as we know, in every industry we may have a lot of different type of products, but not every product will be successful. Why? Because where they can able to understand the real problems of the industries and address them successfully, then definitely the standard leaders. But we need leaders in the product development. So I believe in the direction we have taken, or startups or whatever the people are involved in this particular technology, tech, and there is context. I would like to request Mr. Ranjit Matrani, President, Controllers Data Centers for future growth, because as we know, everything is a data. How we are creating every moment as we are sitting conversations and also ideas, and how it is evolving locally and also globally.
The data, AI, all of those pieces. I come where I didn't have to worry about all these. And there are a lot of you, I'm sure. And there's a lot of young generation who are worried about this, right? Earlier in my times, I had to pick up an Yellow Pages to call somebody. That doesn't exist. Technology has its own benefits and of course pitfalls. And that's what we see. If you look at AI as far as India is concerned, everybody speaks about AI. There are close to about 6,500 plus startups who actually work on AI platforms and deliver AI across to you, not to mention the large companies who are there, right? So there are a lot of people who will tell you what AI can do today to you, right? Everybody says AI can do this, AI can do that. We all know it, right? But most important is you need to know what. How many of you use ChatGPT here? A lot of people. Great. Just to give you a sense, this picture is about stats which are there. Google consumes about 22 billion liters of water every year. Their data centers. Okay, 1 million users every week on ChatGPT, active users, right? So if for every single email which is sent, ChatGPT consumes about 3 liters of water. 3 liters, okay? Today, India has a population of almost about 300 million people who are email users, right? So if 5% of the population send email every week, you're talking about 4.3 billion liters of water which is going to be consumed by ChatGPT. So think about it. Most important part when you look at AI is the sustainability part of it. And we're going to discuss, and I'm going to share a few things from our perspective, what we believe, right? But this is the biggest area which you need to understand every single time you use any platform of AI, right? The second piece, let's look at something which is more interesting, right? So when ChatGPT, the whole learning piece was built, they built it on about 285,000 processor cores, 10,000 GPUs, right? It generated about 800 petaflops of power with 400 gigabit of network, right? Now, if you take that into consideration, 800 petaflops of power is equal to combined top 20 supercomputers in the world. That's the power consumption, right? So, in a year, ChatGPT consumes about 225 gigawatt of power. That's the consumption of ChatGPT, okay? India's data center market is about 1 gigawatt. Total India data center market is going to grow into 2 gigawatts by next 2 years. Whereas ChatGPT consumes 220. Afghanistan's total power consumption in a year is 7 gigawatts. Think about it. There are 30 countries who consume less power compared to what ChatGPT consumes in the world. That's the kind of power which is required when you run any AI platforms. And this is very important, right? Meta consumes about 15 terawatts of power, not gigawatt, terawatts of power, okay? Now that's the kind of consumption which comes in when you look at AI, right? These are the hidden costs. So every single time you talk about AI, people don't tell you about the hidden costs that are there. There are a lot of hidden costs that comes with AI. So it's very easy when we talk about AI, but there are also a lot of hidden costs you'll have to look at. And that's one of the reasons why, if you look at the adoption which is there, it's not still as much as what people believe it should be. And I'm talking about not just the AI, I'm talking about generative AI. These are two different things, right? So one, you would start with, when people say AI, it starts with automation, then comes to AI, then comes to generative AI, right? So there are a lot of hidden costs you have to look at when you look at implementing AI within your organization. So it's not as straightforward as what people seem it to be, right? The other interesting part, if you look at it, and this is something which happens for everybody, right? When you're traveling, many of you traveled here, if you're traveling from a different place, you will take an Uber, Ola, you will choose a specific methodology of travel when you're there. Technology is like that. It's not like it works, one thing works for everything, right? So if you look at what happens with technology, there's a complexity when it comes to AI. You walk into any organization today, they have legacy systems, very old systems which are still running. People suddenly talk about today containers, people talk about microservices architectures, people talk about every single piece which is there, right? But the complexity is increasing day by day because of the fact that there are a lot of legacy systems which still are there, which will not enable AI platforms to be successful. And that's one of the reasons why you have a challenge when it comes to success of some of the AI platforms which are there, and there are enough and more failures of what has happened around the AI piece, right? But complexity of integration is very, very critical when you look at building your AI systems which are there, right? Everybody speaks about this. Data security, there were almost about 6 billion plus data breaches which actually happened across the globe. We know that, so data security is a critical part when you look at any AI platforms, right? So there is almost 3 in 10 companies which have data set challenges. And this is going to be never ending, right? So every single time you introduce AI into this, it's only going to increase for you as far as the data challenge is concerned. So this is something which you will have to look at every single time you talk about AI. Today, without AI itself, you're facing it. So when you talk about AI, you're going to face a lot more challenges when it comes to data sets which are there, right? And this was very interesting, right? This was asked on ChatGPT. What is the world record for crossing the English Channel entirely on foot? And there was a very exhaustive reply ChatGPT gave. What it means is that in the world of deepfakes, there are a lot of hallucinations that happens. And this is on multiple platforms, right? And we've seen enough, and if you Google right from Gemini to every single platform which is there, you always had challenges which are there, right? We call these hallucinations which are there. So this is the biggest problem if you look at what most of the AI companies are trying to address. How do you address the ethical and the bias concerns which are there? And that is going to increase, and that has increased substantially. So just putting an AI platform is not going to solve your problems. It won't. There are a lot of areas which you'll have to look at when you're talking about AI. Don't just look at a use case and say my problems are solved. It's not going to solve your problems, right? A very common theme when you walk across very remote villages in India, right? Which is a problem. Scalability is always an issue. People don't have transport, you fit in multiple people, and that's the biggest challenge of AI also, right? I spoke to you about the kind of compute which is required. By the way, what I told you, 285,000 cores, 10,000 GPUs, was for the earlier version of ChatGPT, which was the GPT-3. GPT-4 takes 30,000 GPUs. Now just multiply the number of what I just told you earlier about power consumption, water consumption, all of those stuff, right? Just start multiplying it and see what happens. Think about the scalability part. For you to run something like that, I'm not telling you will run as scalable or 30,000 GPUs, but to run any of those platforms, you will always have challenges in scaling. And this is another problem which you will always see when it comes to AI platforms, right? So this is something which you'll have to keep in mind when you do it. Not to mention, you walk into you tell your CFO saying, I have a new platform, I'm going to introduce AI, I'm going to make it work, right? If AI could solve all our problems, every business will be booming today. The fact is that we have a challenge when it comes to positioning or showing ROI. See, this is another big problem that comes when it comes to AI problems, right? That how do you show the right ROI for you to go implement an AI? So AI is not a fancy thing, but you need to look at it from a business angle perspective. So that's very important, right? The last piece, of course, a lot of people spoke about data. Regulatory hurdles are very, very critical. There are a lot of regulations which are coming specifically around the AI platforms which are there. GDPR is putting in a lot, for example, into the AI. Our Data Protection Act still doesn't cover the AI platform to it. There is still work in progress, if you, right? So from our perspective, if you look at it, what is it we believe? Number one, I think you have to be very clear about the strategy you want to kind of implement when it comes to AI, right? Data management. The biggest challenge for an organization is data are always siloed. You have lots of data in every organization, but it always resides in silos. So you need to address the siloed part because you will not get the right output otherwise, right? I spoke about legacy infrastructures, invest in tech and infra, pilot AI project so that your ROI comes out better, right? Very important that you take the whole org. Now, from our perspective, we are a group of companies which deliver to AI platforms across, and these are the companies where we deliver all of these. What is important is we do deliver AI also. But the difference is this, apart from what I just mentioned, it is Neutrino, which is a super intelligent AI for enterprise. It's a conversational Gen AI interface, which is, it's not just the intelligence of AI, but also a generative intelligence when it comes to building platforms, right? So data when you're trying to build efficiency and deliver what you need to do from a use case perspective. And I'm going to run through a very quick one, which is, for example, a use case could be computer vision innovations. So it can pick computer images, based on the images, give you insight in terms of how an installation can be done for a person who's in remote without actually training him, right? So a lot of use cases we can obviously work with you. Right kind of data centers for you to actually deliver AI, which actually reduces the consumption of water, reduces the consumption of electricity so that you are able to deliver sustainable AI across your customers, right? We have about 250, right? The other important part is how do you ensure that you are delivering energy sustainably? We have one of the largest how it looks like. Our Mumbai DC, in fact, one of the DC is already fully operational from a solar capacity and generative power capacity, which is being delivered currently. This is the area where we are focusing on in delivering sustainable AI to our customers. And I'll just we will do all of those pieces, what everybody talks about, delivering AI to you, delivering infrastructure to you. We deliver all of those pieces. At 6, we are on about 1.35. And this is very important from an energy efficiency perspective. By 2030, 100% recycled water. And this is again, when you look at what I just spoke to you about the water consumption which is there. 100% renewable energy by 2030. This is again very important when you look at the energy consumption which is there. Many of our states today have a challenge when it comes to water and scarcity and electricity scarcity. So all of these areas are very, very critical, right? The key takeaway for you from our perspective is this. We will deliver AI to you with all of those use cases what everybody spoke about, but we will deliver AI in a very sustainable way. That's the way we believe in controllers. We will take it forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And very different spin.
Thank you, Mr. Ranjitji. I think that's a very insightful view on the data centers, how they are evolving, and also how controllers is playing a vital role in terms of coming up with a bigger vision of having data centers driven by AI, and also it can play a big role going forward. And definitely, hopefully it will inspire more and more data centers which can play a global centers for the complete the technological landscape. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Santosh Kumar Bachu, who is the Director, Spock IT Solutions Limited, UK, and he's the delivery lead for Cloud, DevOps, and AI. And he has got 25 years of experience in the technology sector, 20 years of delivery experience in outside India, across Europe and New Zealand, etc. And he's a double PG in financial management and PG in HR, and he's passionate about AI, innovation, and continuous learning. It is all yours, Mr. Santosh Kumar Bachu. Thank you.
Namaste. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, ASSOCHAM, for having me here today. It's truly an honor to be here today at this remarkable conference under the session AI Revolutionizing Tomorrow. I'm conscious of the fact that I'm standing between you and a delicious lunch waiting just close to us. I can also smell. So, Kumar Bachu, been in the industry, technical space over 25 years, been in UK, Europe, New Zealand for over 20 years in the AI, cloud, DevOps streams. But beyond the titles and experience, what matters for me more are those 4 matters. There are slightly outside this topic here, but it's inclusive as well. There are 4 key topics that drives me in my life: health, wealth, technology, and charity. I'm glad that I'm here today on the technology stack, especially AI. So today, let's dive into how entrepreneurs can build and scale. In fact, the building and scaling is already happening as we speak, using AI without needing a PhD certificate or a huge budget. So before we head out for lunch, let's cook up some fresh ideas on how AI can work for us. So we are not talking just about the AI in the future. We are already talking right now. We are in the present and also talking about it. So the way businesses are leveraging in 2025 is drastically different to how they were last year this time. And guess what? This will be very different in the next year when we have these similar sessions here. The pace of AI evolution is faster than ever, and the entrepreneurs, for the real question is, are we keeping up and are we getting behind? So that's the question. By 2030, not 5 years from here, so less than 5 years, AI is projected to contribute 15.7 trillion to the global economy, surpassing the current GDP of India and China together. So that's amazing numbers. And what does this mean? These projections are here to emphasize the importance how entrepreneurs can integrate AI to develop their businesses and to capitalize on emerging opportunities. Let's look at how AI is getting adopted across various industries today. I'll give you a few seconds if you want to scan through. That's a big bar chart with lots of industries that are already adopting AI in their domains. What do these AI adoptions rates tell us? They reveal not just the way how AI is thriving, but where the biggest opportunities lie for the aspiring entrepreneurs to build businesses upon. While industries like finance, as you can see on the screen, telecommunications are leading the way, there are several sectors like agriculture, real estate, government sectors, and many others where AI adoption is less, and they're picking up. So these are very wide options and opportunities for innovations for aspiring entrepreneurs. More importantly, for entrepreneurs, this isn't just the data. It's a roadmap to building the next wave of AI-driven businesses and create a big impact. Let's take a look at this table that provides a quick reference to AI-powered tools that increase the efficiency, automate the tasks, and enhance the decision-making in each of these industries. I'm sure if you are looking at this, some of the tools you might recollect and recognize you being using in your domains, in your industries, in your companies, businesses. As you can see, right from the healthcare, financial services down to the government, there are several AI tools that are being consumed, used, explored to the core. I know that's a long list, and I'm not going to bore you by reading each one of them. But here, what's exciting? AI is already solving the real-world problems in every major industry. In healthcare, as you can see, AI is already diagnosing the diseases faster than the doctors. And in finance, it's already predicting the market trends. In agriculture, it's already helping farmers grow more with less. Entertainment, I'm sure you all know about this. AI is creating music, even editing the videos in span of minutes and sometimes seconds. It's that fast. The message here is simple. AI is in the future. It's already here, and these are the tools that are giving us the proof. The real question here is, how will we leverage AI in our fields? I'm sure you'll all agree that there could be some challenges, but here are the keynotes. If we overly rely on AI, that can lead to sometimes oversight and cause issues in the way how the products, the solutions are being developed. So it's very crucial to maintain the human judgment and ethical considerations while building AI applications and solutions. And what's the concluding note? I would say there are 3 bits. Bring the AI into the roadmaps today. Accelerate your entrepreneurial endeavors. And lastly, stay ahead in the game. I strongly believe learning is a continuous journey, which I always try to live up to the upcoming technologies in the AI and any technology stack, and I've been hearing some interesting and inspiring, thought-provoking sessions, topics since this morning. Like you all, I'm also learning. I'm on the learning curve, which I'm going to bank on later today and hereafter. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santosh Kumar Bachu. I think in a very short span of time, you covered deeper, wider topics and insights before lunch, as you said. Yeah. Okay. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Ashish Ranjan, scientist of HPEC Technologies Group, which is a department of CDAC, Pune. He is leading the solution design and deployment of HPC systems under the National Supercomputing Mission. He is a system architect for numerous HPC systems across various academic and R&D organizations in India and abroad. He has been actively working on the next generation of supercomputers for India. He has also worked as a system administrator in the BSS division of Reliance Infocom. Ashish Ranjan received a degree in Information and Communications Technology from Dhirubhai Ambani Institute of Information and Communications Technology, Gandhinagar, Gujarat. Thank you, Mr. Ashish ji. Please welcome. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ashish Ranjan, belongs to HPC Technologies Group, and considering the topic that has been given to me, we are doing data center, but with different regions. So before going to that region, I would like to present some of the things that we are doing. That will be a quick overview why we are building data centers. So currently we have been interested with a mission project, National Supercomputing Mission. As part of that mission, we are building supercomputing infrastructure across the country. Several we have already built, and few of them already at the stage of completing. So out of that one, total we are planning to complete the installation of 64 petaflop of capacity within this country. And this whole facility are part of the national facility. Any academia, industry or MSME startups can use this facility. These facilities are operational across the country. Most of them are hosted at ISC, IITs, and as a agreement, 60% of this capacity will be used by the host institutes where this has been placed, and 40% will be shared across the whole country. Any academia or any student can approach us for accessing this facility. So as you can see, we have a different category of supercomputers. And as part of the supercomputer, we have done several things. First is the infrastructure development that we are already done. Second part was this R&D part. So most of these components should have been done indigenously. So even development of the server, Rudra server that we have developed as a part of that one based on the Intel. And we have several new generation of that servers coming and developed and designed by CDAC within country manufactured. And several other components related to interconnect and those things have been also been developed. We are also developing our own liquid cooling solutions also. Third category was that we should not just only investing on infra and R&D on the hardware part. We should have our own applications. So we have invested 5 applications into 5 applications of different domain, scientific domain mostly, like bioinformatics, CFD, seismic, and these applications have been developed and it has been scaled up to largest scale of capacity we have. And the fourth vertical that we have that having this kind of facility and using them, they require a lot of different kind of skill set. So we have invested in HRE activities, and till now by many different kind of events, activities, engagement with the IITs, we have trained around 20,000 plus students or faculty members or industry people have also participated in that one. So that was an overview of what NSM mission is achieving. So as part of that one, you can see in the phase 1, we have developed 15 supercomputers, and all these supercomputers also require a data center. And our data center requirements are a bit different from the cloud. These all data centers are having racks in the capacity range of 40 kilowatt per rack. And most of these data centers that we are building are not even based on the chillers. we are using very, very innovative dry cooler only we are using for cooling this. And we are achieving PU of around 1.1 in few of these data centers. So our requirement will be different, and in the part of this going further, we invested into our own indigenous technology. This Param Rudra supercomputer completely developed and designed by CDAC, and even it's based on our own Rudra servers. So this system, along with 2 other systems, recently in August inaugurated by Prime Minister, and this has been dedicated to nation for use by the user community. And this system, you can see, this developed by us, is basically a mix of liquid and air-cooled technology, and we are still achieving around 1.25 kind of PUE in this kind of data centers. This is another system, Siddhi Arawat. This is dedicatedly for the AI kind of workload, and this is also national facility. There are several users already on this one, startups, MSME, academia users have already been there, and some of the funded projects from the ministries have already been ported on this system. So this was the overview of what we have been doing, and we also have dedicated AI systems. And apart from HPC, there where we are doing mostly 64-bit double precision simulations, we have AI systems dedicated for that. And these are from the day one scalable from 1 GPU to largest number of GPU, because these are all connected through interconnect of InfiniBand and fully non-blocking factory topology. So that way these are from day one, these are ready for scaling to the highest number of GPU. So coming to this AI part of that one, AI ready data center. So how we can qualify one data center to be AI ready? It should not just be only crunching the AI kind of workload. How AI technology can be enabled into this data centers. So there are several aspects, and some of those are my wish list. Some of those things we have already achieved, we are trying, but some of those things we would like to be coming from the industry, and we could also partner with them. Starting with this planning for these data centers. Most of these user and even designers, we are coming from the computer science background. So, and we require a lot of mechanical, electrical competency in this kind of development. And to start with initially visualization, we must have AI kind of tool that can simulate me this kind of data center power requirement, which technology can give me better efficiency. So there has to be a summary kind of tool that can visualize me initial level of design of these tools. And I think there is right now lack of that kind of tool in our environment. And that kind of a tool, single tool that can give me multiple technology from electrical to cooling to various other aspects, that will be a great. Going to the operation part of AI. So we have a lot of components, and those keep on failing, and sometimes because of those we have to take downtime, maintenance. So the AI tools can very much help us in this preventive maintenance. We know that in the older data center, it will be very difficult to retrofit that one, because some of the component doesn't have even data. Those components are not even monitored. So in the newer data center, we should have as much monitoring or component or sensors enabled in all the components, so that we can take those data, we can have a preventive maintenance based on those tools itself. Instead of just waiting for those things to fail and our BMS will trigger the alarm, there has to be method or alertness by these AI tools, by taking this data or reporting from this all the census data, so that we can do some mitigation to that one. During planning and capacity planning phase also, AI can help us a lot, because we can see the previous data, we can analyze that one, and they can suggest that when we can have over provisioning, we can have under provisioning. Capacity planning can be very much helped by AI. We have also seen that when we are using the system, resource allocation is a big challenge. In our environment, we are not using Kubernetes or different kind of, we are using in the batch mode. So we use a different kind of scheduling tool. Those scheduling tools have multiple algorithms, either you use first come, first service, or you use backfill. So backfill is kind of thing that whenever the system is free, smaller jobs can be fit there. But those are still very much parameter driven, and whatever user has given data, sometimes they give the false data or they are not even aware. A job that can finish in 1 hour, they give still 3 days. So those analysis or those information can be picked by machine learning tools, and they can make this job scheduling events far efficient. So those are my wish list. There are several other components also can be helped into this AI. Some of the things that we are doing even from this supporting. So we keep on getting hundreds of mail from the user for access requests to our systems. Many times by oversight also, or might be somebody is not there, we miss many mails. So now we have integrated an AI tool, machine learning based, that those all mails should be at least be responded by the AI tool. So the first interaction will be done by the AI. If something is missing or some problem, then only manual intervention will be there. And since if you go to any kind of environment, now we have so many monitoring tools. If you name it, we have all kind of monitoring tools. So we cannot monitor all the monitoring tools. Point is now that we cannot monitor. We are wasting so much time in monitoring the monitoring tool itself. So there has to be some simplification of that one. AI tool can help in that one. So these are my initial thoughts in that one. During lunchtime, we can discuss further also. If you have any other point also, I would like to incorporate in my discussions. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Ashish, for giving and also introducing and also maybe recollecting the Param is one of the flagship product from India in homegrown supercomputing, which phenomenally impacted how India can create such brilliant product from here. So, and also hope you also noticed the names what they choose, really very interesting for us actually. As you can see, Param Siddhi and Airavat and also Sanjeevani, various types of product names. I think we please really give a big round of applause to the Param what they choose the names. They really inspire and to keep it. Thank you. And now we invite Mr. Tanish Mathur, Director Cash Product Management, Standard Chartered Bank. Mr. Mathur is a industry practitioner, senior industry practitioner with around 21 years of experience in commercial banking, business strategy, consulting, innovation, program and project management. Currently, Tanish is working as a Director, Cash Product Management with Standard Chartered Bank. He has 2 copyrights to his name in the space of innovation and design making, and is well sought after speaker in the areas of project management and emerging technology. Tanish is an avid design thinking practitioner and has published several papers in reputed journals in the areas of project management and innovation. He has also spoken at PMI Global Conference in LA, USA on decision making and problem solving. Hope he will bring, as we already set the context in terms of how startups and various things, how companies can evolve. As part of that, I believe we need to have a proper project management, project development, how people can understand better best practices from the industry across globally. Probably he will give an insightful overview on that. Thank you, Mr. Tanish.
Hi, good afternoon all. Thanks for the lovely introduction. I'm not sure if it's written by AI, but that was really great. Before I start into AI, the future of everything, I would like to thank Mr. Vishwa, Mr. Dinesh, Mr. Rambabu, and the entire ASSOCHAM team for pulling up this stellar event. So please, can you have a big round of applause for the ASSOCHAM team? It's an excellent event. And when Mr. Vishwa spoke to me regarding the topic like the AI, the future of everything. So it's like a big canvas and where we are trying to paint some strokes with AI as a paint, right? And we are trying to put some bold strokes on that large canvas. So, but I thought, okay, let's see how we can paint this large canvas with AI as a brush and see what's the future lies ahead for us. So before I go into the details, I want to check with the audience, right? Like, do you see that AI is the future with respect to every aspect of our life, or we still have some doubts in our subconscious mind? Can you just give me a show of hand if everybody is pretty convinced that AI is future of everything? What do you think? We are really convinced, not so convinced, is it? Okay, so, but Mr. Jayant has given entirely a different spin to this whole conversation with terms to the computing capabilities and the consumption, AI applications, or artificial intelligence as a technology will bring for us. So I will just go into the details of it, but more towards kind of a food for thought for all of you so that you can think over it. So I'll start with the fundamental concepts of AI and Gen AI, okay? Because after attending this conference, day-long conference, if somebody asks you, what is the difference between artificial intelligence and generative AI, you should be able to answer it, right? So artificial intelligence, I would like to highlight that we are coming from the banking and financial services industry. We are using it for quite some time. We are using robotic process automation, which is a kind of mimicking human intelligence. And artificial intelligence is nothing but basically we want to mimic the human intelligence. And we have used a great extent of robotic process automation so that we can standardize the processes which are used in banking operations and different areas. Now with the advent of Gen AI, what we are trying to do, we are trying to build some kind of creativity, some kind of innovation, so that machines or computers not only will take decisions, but also will be able to take some creative ideas or do some kind of innovation on their own. That's the fundamental difference between artificial intelligence and Gen AI. So if you see, artificial intelligence talks about analysis of data. On the basis of the data analysis, they do some kind of predictions, and on the basis of the prediction, we should be able to take some counter actions. That's basically artificial intelligence. And when we see Gen AI is basically creation of data. It's a new creation of data. That's the fundamental difference on the first line. Then if you see decision, predictions versus innovation, as I mentioned, artificial intelligence helps us in taking decisions, whereas Gen AI can create on its own. That's the second layer of difference. The third one is basically pattern recognition and pattern creation. With the help of AI, we can recognize the pattern on the large data sets, but with the help of Gen AI, the machines or computers can create patterns on their own. So that's basically AI and Gen AI for you. Now moving on, as I mentioned, mimicking the human intelligence. So how artificial intelligence technologies can do that? So if you see this pictograph, basically there are three areas from a human brain perspective or intelligence perspective. That's basically sense, comprehend, and act. So basically sense is like our sensory organs which collates the data from the environment, from the surroundings, right? And then they assimilate and they will help us to take a proper decision. So that's where the comprehend part of the brain comes in, and where we see act, basically this is the decision making. So from an artificial intelligence technology perspective, we have computer vision and audio processing, which takes care of sensing part. We have NLP, which takes care of the comprehension, natural language processing. And then we have machine learning, which helps us in taking the decision. So basically, this is the analogy of human brain versus artificial intelligence or Gen AI, what we are talking about. Moving on, I have capped these data numbers pretty simple. Don't want to confuse you or with complex numbers. The year-on-year market growth, what we are seeing from an AI and Gen AI perspective, I have taken a combined perspective. It's 40% year-on-year growth basis. And in terms of investments, which is coming, this is a global investment number, what I'm projecting here. It could be more, but it's on an annual basis, around 100 billion investments, what we are looking into. Now moving on, I think most of these areas have been covered, but this is very important because these focus areas I have taken from Niti Aayog strategy, where Government of India and Niti Aayog they want to sorry, this is can you just put this again here? Yeah, so in terms of financial, different industries, like the focus areas for government is financial services, then agriculture, and the specific use cases what we are looking at in financial services, it's like, you know, the conversational bots and the smart bots and the virtual assistants. It's already in place. What we are already witnessing, we are already experiencing. In terms of agriculture, it is soil care and restoration. There are artificial intelligence technology which are helping farmers in evaluating the soil quality. Then we have sowing advisory, then also the precision farming. These are the couple of areas where we can see impact of artificial intelligence in agriculture as a sector. Then healthcare, I think we have already spoken about, I think earlier speakers have spoken about diagnosis, predictive diagnosis, and we also have AI, robotics and IoT combination, which helps us in taking healthcare to the next level in an economy or in a country like India. Then also we have artificial intelligence intervention in the areas of education, where we can create smart content and we can take the education to the next level. We have smart navigation systems that will help us in taking the mobility and helping us the complex problems or the real transportation or mobility problems what we are facing today. This is a quick slide on the future of work. I think between the AI and human collaboration, there is a lot of discussion. There is a lot of jobs. AI will overtake human in terms of job creation. There is a lot of impact. But see, right now what we are seeing, where we are almost, I'll not say we are not in nascent stage, but where we are 60 to 70% intelligence is going to make an impact on us. So from that perspective, we see that, like, you know, AI, we still need to use as a tool. A lot of use cases which has demonstrated where they also will come to know, but we have to use AI as a collaborative tool who should help us in solving our problems or in making our jobs really easy. Moving on, I think these are a couple of challenges what we have in terms of working with AI applications or AI technology. These are basically in terms of data quality what we have, data prejudice, data amplification. These will be some of the challenges. Quickly moving on, I just want to ask, like, you know, did you anybody recognizes what is this? Any answers? Do we know what is this? I'll read out for the audience. Vaidya, Kaleido, Marshall. Anybody recognizes? Or you see this as a C5 character? Okay, basically these are indigenous or SLM models, small language models, and I think there is a lot of national level or international level debate which is going on, and I just want to leave the audience with this thought that basically we should build LLMs, large language models, or we should focus on small language models or indigenous models, right? So what I want to showcase here, what I want to showcase here is all the models what you are seeing on the screen. These are built by Indian startups. These are all indigenous models which will be focusing on Indian diaspora as such. Okay, so this will help us. I think Kritram has been recently announced, but all these other models are already in place. Okay. Now the last one, basically, like as Jayant has also mentioned, like, you know, the kind of and technologies are taking. So what is the path we should take, right? Whether we should invest in AI, we should adopt AI, or how should we how should we go about it? So basically, what we want to have, like we want to be consumers of technology or we want to own the technology. When I say consumers of technology, that means we should keep on using the large language models which are built by global corporations, or we should have our own LLMs or SLMs, right? Our own indigenous models which can be built and which can be used locally rather than we subscribe to the global language models. That's the first part of it. And then basically when we, the last point, basically the fit for purpose models. When we develop into the technology over a period of time, like, we will reach to a stage where we can achieve economies of scale. There will be the advancements overall cost, and we'll be having multiple use cases across the industries and sectors which will bring us economies of scale. So basically that's for
That was certainly an illuminating session. Thank you everyone for your time. If you could just spare 2 more minutes. Mr. Santosh Kumar, sir. Go to Mr. Ashish. The panel discussion. The topic is why AI fails, lessons learned from real-world implementation. Maths T-Hub Hyderabad. He will be a panel moderator for. Next, if we can have Professor Sumohana S. We have Mr. Venkatesh, co-founder and chief AI officer, Foundation AI. We have Mr. Gopi Target Arc. To please take over.
Great. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone on the evening. Use themselves, starting with Murli.
Hi. My name is Murli Kala. It started in UK, and we are a technology agnostic.
Hi, my name is Venkatesh. I'm co-founder and chief AI officer at Foundation AI. So we are intelligent document processing platform, and we work with legal industry. We work in the legal industry, and we work with law firms, mainly in workers' compensation and injury litigation practice areas.
Hi, I'm Gopi. I run a startup here.
A very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Sumohan. I am a faculty member in the EE department at IIT Hyderabad. I am also affiliated with the AI department. And my areas of research are in computer vision also. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Last but not the least. My name is Anirudh. We support all the AI startups, and we are an extended arm of T-Hub. We are right now incubating about 110, so we put it across. Okay, to start the panel discussion, I would want to have one round of one question is gap and drive real world success.
Because thanks to ChatGPT, it has opened up everybody's eyes with very little effort, especially organizations. I've been part of many pharmaceutical companies, AIs, for AI, where computational power was very expensive. Knowledge on what AI can do and how we can make AI successful. I go to many organizations where they say, okay, let's start a project, AI project. And I'll be like, this is not your typical software project. You cannot do the same thing in the same way again and again and expect a new and completely different result. People have started, but what they don't realize is this is not your typical software project. You've got to understand your data ecosystem, which no company is investing time and money in understanding their ecosystem. Especially in large firms, because over the period of many, many years, they have different software platforms from different vendors. There's huge amounts of data that's being created and generated. And each speaking a different language. When I say different language, it's been represented in a different way. Do you understand how all of this data actually relates? You have data, then you need to have information, then you translate that into knowledge. Pass this knowledge to any AI models or systems, you would get a valid result. Is this happening? The answer is no. You are taking data which is full of noise, which is out of context, and feeding it into AI and saying AI is failing. Of course it fails. Throw me some random numbers. I can throw some random numbers and ask everybody to interpret. Each one interprets in a different way. That's how AI models are. And everything is not models. Before you actually start investing in everything, you have to create a data ecosystem. Seamlessly. There are no boundaries. You're bridging all the sides and creating an ecosystem. By the way, this is not a physical ecosystem where you would buy a server and put all your data into one big, huge box. That's not what we are advocating over here. Create an intangible ecosystem where information is turned into knowledge, and then you pass it on to AI models, and now you're talking. This is not happening. Your first port of call is by a platform or a tool or a technology, and it says, now I'm done. Sustainability, scalability, and ROI. These are very good points. And Mr. Tanish from Standard Chartered was talking about small language models. I think these are very, very good topics. And X liters of water or fluid ounces of water, etc. But when it comes to AI, what I've seen from my own experience is that you don't need all the data that's been out there. You got to invest your time and money in identifying your crown jewels. These are the critical jewels where, your investments are less, can make it more sustainable, environment friendly, etc. And invest in creating small language models or specialized language models. Create an ecosystem where there are multiple small language models, just like our neural networks, which grow cognitive, which evolve being cognitive like us. We all possess cognitive intelligence. That's what we expect from systems. That's what, the future is. Make them grow, connect. And overall, once you have these small language models talking to each other, you can answer bigger questions. But let's start with answering smaller questions, solving smaller problems. I think that's where the future should be. And I would still, in the interest of time, I would say that I go to many organizations where a digital twin of something, a machine, a human who is performing some role, etc., which is semantically enriched, which gives a lot of context. So building a data foundation is the key to making AI succeed.
So strengths, tools, and the likes, and just building on Murli's thought as well. Companies that already have a data layer, it's in sort of integrate and just make it work seamlessly right off the bat, right? And how we do that is again a 2 or 3 step process. First thing is the business. The folks with the domain expertise have to work in tandem with the technology experts, right? Because generally what happens, people look at ChatGPT, they say, hey, it's working in ChatGPT. Now I want to have that similar sort of AI experience within my company, within my products, and enable some sort of AI use cases. Whatever we are seeing in ChatGPT is like sort of ad hoc versus trying to integrate that into a business use case and to make it work in a business context. So that gap can only be addressed if the business domain experts and the technology product managers are working together towards a common goal, right? So we offer things like, how do we sort of play around with the different. This panel was also talking about how we have conversational interfaces where, just in general, businesses can experiment with different models, figure out the use cases. So some of those things. And when, the complexity of how do we have guardrails in place so that when the outputs come, they are not damaging the brand reputation. So some of these basic things, if we when I say start small, when you take any typical enterprise use case, to sort of automate. I mean, we have been hearing this for last 1 year saying that, AI will take over our jobs. But the reality is most enterprise use cases have 4 or 5 levels of depth in terms of the workflow. And that AI, not today, not probably next year also, will be able to effortlessly automate to the point where everything is just done. So we want to AI tool, there's a specific AI workflow that people are using, and then they're augmenting their own capabilities, always with a human. Specific sectors in edtech and real estate, prop tech, these verticals. And most of these we actually have human in the loop versus when not. And it boils down to the depth of the workflow that you want to. The rest of the thing is what humans can take care of. That's when we see real good success rates in users. We find that let them experiment, let them have that AI fluency within the org, and sort of enable some co-pilot use cases. That's what we are seeing.
Yeah, I think in our in at running 2 companies. So what I've seen is like oftentimes data scientists, whoever is working on training these models, right? They think it as a science experiment, and then they keep running multiple models. But in not reaching the accuracy levels that the business team require, or like understanding what kind of things results as well. So what things that we have done at our companies, like ensuring that like the domain experts and the data scientists work in more collaboration rather than like building, and getting better results, and also a quality output as well. And also, as everyone know, like garbage in, garbage out. So that anything that's going into the model, it has to be thoroughly checked and verified, so that like we can have a and then better outcomes as well. And another thing that I think often goes wrong is like the success of data science as, let's say, like how much accuracy it has been improved, or like output from the model, but we don't tie it back to the outcomes. Like so what kind of outcome that it is driving, like for example, how many hours we are saving and how many documents we are processing through the system. So if you're kind of like linking to the outcomes, I think that then it will be more meaningful, so that like even the data scientists understand, like, okay, so I'm not trying to like build a model which is just to like
an academic or a theoretical standpoint. There are fundamental results in AI and machine learning that can explain what my co-panelists here have spoken about. During training, the data that you use at validation time or test time should look like and proofs that people have come about to show that if this fundamental assumption is broken, then all bets are off. So from a theorist, and you go in there and you ask it to predict what the next word is going to be when you give it, say, a few failure at a fundamental level. So I'll just stop here in the interest of, time. Yes.
So my next question, AI appears to work, but then in the real-time scenarios, it fails.
Well, Cursor quite a bit for our development. And I'm sure a lot of you are using Cursor as well for your development, or GitHub Copilot, for instance. And now when these models are plugged into your business workflows, they work very seamlessly. Now, expecting that to work in an enterprise context is a kind of data sets that we deal with that span into terabytes and petabytes, and also in case like how right, I mean the data has been there, the software has been there, a lot of systems that, but in the larger context, where does it fit in? So people look at ChatGPT, feel it's like super easy. Oh, it can create a job post, it can create a blog post for me, I can do XYZ part of my workflow, and then they try to again see what part of workflows they can automate in their business, and then they're dealing with disparate systems which are like super, already they're not talking to each other, and then you add a layer on top of that with AI, it gets super complicated. But again, the reason why people call it a ChatGPT trap is because it looks easy, it isn't easy. And when you get down to the details, it's always about what are those use cases and what is the workflow depth that you want to target right now with generative AI. And particular workflow depth is achieved, how do you go to the next level, trying to automate something else? So, but businesses don't have a choice, right? They have to start somewhere, and that's usually like, taking some standalone tools, getting to be a little bit more productive, get to 1 or 2 levels of workflow depth, and then keep going at it. That's all we can do.
This is a very interesting, very relevant question for this panel. In fact, I was trying to see if I can get my students to fall into the ChatGPT trap they're doing to avoid falling into this trap. So knowledge, be it legal, be it ed tech, be it even core AI algorithms, unless you have the ability to look at what ChatGPT is doing and be able to figure out whether it's actually what you need or not, which again goes back to the point of domain knowledge. We have a great tool available to us, but this domain expertise is what is going to be the key for us to leverage the strength that this tool is able to give us.
Adding to this, Venki, I would like to know what are the hurdles in scaling AI, and then how do you look at it?
Yeah, I think like so there are two ways like we can implement Gen AI, right? So one is like so fine tuning all the open source LLMs with your own data and then like deploying them. Or like maybe experiment with more on like prompting and RAG and use any of these commercial LLMs like OpenAI or Gemini as well. So right now like we're kind of trying to balance both of them, and what we have seen is like if you take the first approach, like if you're trying to build your own, fine-tune your own LLM, so the things that come into picture are like, so how do you, so the business objectives, right? Like what kind of cost is involved in running these on your own servers? What kind of latency is there? Scalable, and also like how do you ensure the accuracy is better than what you are getting when you are using like commercial LLMs. What we are focusing is kind of now building the layer, the kind of like we call it as a plumbing or a tooling, where like if I can have a way to like check each of these prompts, various prompts, and then version them, and then like check against different. We don't have to marry for like, let's say, only for OpenAI. So we have various options like Gemini Flash 2.0 is now kind of having a better accuracy and throughput as well. So verify this across all these models, and then it's kind of like the prompts on one side, and then you have the different options that you have, and now you can choose the best model that works for your. About like deploying these servers, you don't have to have like a dedicated DevOps team like who manage the how you deploy it and how you monitor it and all those things. So I think it kind of simplifies a lot of things. You can focus more on like some of the toolings around like how you can version control these prompts, and then how you can deploy them into the production, and then focus on like your business case, and then like trying to solve for that. So that I think will help in achieving your business objectives.
My last question is to Murli. We've looked at the hurdles, the issues, then scaling up. How do you now, from the standpoint of the corporate world, how do you effectively manage multiple vendors using AI, which includes the compliance, which includes the adoption and everything?
Yeah, vendors is a big question. It's a huge challenge for every organization to manage multiple vendors. I think the easiest way, as I said before, is like if you know what you have in the first place, no matter which vendor comes, The entry point is your data. If you know your data well, and we have a platform where, you're translating everything into your language, not the vendor's specific language, it's easy for you to manage. Because one of the main things, or many foundational reasons why silos are created, is because these technologies are so compartmentalized. One vendor doesn't want to talk to another vendor. That's where the management issue pops up, right? Now you're trying to build a wrapper around one technology platform to make it talk to the another platform. But why do you want to take that effort? Let each vendor do their own thing, negotiate their own things, and you take the data coming out of each vendor, okay, and then you're centrally managing it, just like a brain works. You don't have a single neuron. You have multiple neurons connected. It's the same thing. And the other important thing is having an informed discussions during the pre-sales process with the vendors. You can have an informed discussion only if you know your data, your infrastructure, your business rules well. Once you have these informed discussions, at the time of the buying process itself, you can streamline many things and make sure that whatever vendor comes, whoever vendor comes, they're interoperable, and it's easier for you to manage. That's why I say to everybody, every one of my clients, I'm a huge advocate of trying to create a fair ecosystem, which is make everything findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. That's an investment you make, and it's an investment for life, which will solve many problems: scalability, returns on investment, vendor management.
Pretty small session that we had. Thank you, ASSOCHAM team, for giving us this opportunity.
We thank all the panel members for their time. I would now like to call upon Mr. Ram Babu to hand over the memento to the team. Yeah. Mr. Anirudh Reddy, thank you so much for moderating the session so smoothly. We would like Mr. Rambabu to hand over the memento. Finally, we have Mr. Murli. If we could please have a photo with all the panel members, Mr. Rambabu and Mr. Dinesh as well, for a quick photograph. My dear guests, it's now time to break for a quick lunch. It's for a 30-minute lunch from 2 to 2:30. We'll see you after the quick lunch. Thank you.